Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, I welcome you to my channel, and more importantly, I welcome you to this little thing right here. Now, what is this? Now, this is just the pinnacle of American innovation. It's the pinnacle of American exceptionalism. It's the pinnacle of just being a man, you know what I mean? This right here is the 1911, but there's something special about it, and we'll get to that in a second. But just all you need to know about the 1911, like I said, everything before, it's a gun that says American, it's a gun that says masculine, it's a gun that says I have a dick, and actually, I do know how to use it. That's right. If you chose the 1911, you chose right because you're all right. All right, so like I was talking about earlier, there is something special about this specific 1911. This ain't a Colt, this ain't a SIG, this ain't a Rock Island or anything like that. No, actually, to keep on with the theme of Rock Island, we're going a little bit more into the Asian territories. This is from Norinco. Now, if you guys don't know what Norinco is, they're effectively a Chinese-owned weapons manufacturer. They started up in 1980. They were importing a bunch of like copies of their own guns, like Chinese AKs, but also stuff like Chinese copies of Winchester 1897 shotguns. There were even some Colt SP1 clones, like the original Colt AR-15s that they were selling too. And then these. So this right here is a 1911. It's chambered in .45 auto. I'll just do this real quick for you. There is some rounds in the magazine, but nothing in the gun, so I don't want anyone saying that I'm trying to do anything silly. You'll know when I'm trying to do something silly, but today is not the day. All right, so I got a couple of targets set up behind me. We're just going to be focused on one today because we just really hate that guy over there. So just to give you an idea of how accurate you can be with a 1911, you know, some people say that they could hit atoms across the side of the Atlantic with God's caliber. Other people say you could be right in front of the side of the barn and still not hit it. We'll see what we can do with that. So we have our 1911 here. We are chambered with some Federal American Eagle 45 ACP. Gonna load that up and we'll see what it does. So those are definitely right there. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then maybe 7 right here. This one doesn't have a mark on it, so maybe that's it. I'm not exactly sure. I was aiming in this upper area, but you can see, like I said, we really hate this guy right here. So we made sure to really get him in his heart because this guy's an A's fan, and the A's are leaving. So we just wanted to show the A's exactly what we think of them abandoning Oakland. I don't think he learned his lesson, though. We're going to do a tactical reload out of my secret magazine pouch, otherwise known as my cargo pants. Fuck the A's. Now, I looked up the serial number on this gun when I first got it. I got it about 3 years ago, and the serial number traces this thing back to the early 90s, 1991, 1992. If any of you guys know anything about Norinco, you'll know that they were importing those guns until about 1994, I think, whenever the Clinton administration put a bunch of sanctions on them importing those kinds of weapons into the country. And then, of course, if you guys are super familiar with where Norinco has been in terms of, you know, what's the term I'm looking for? Infamous settings, I guess you could say. You'll recall that in the 1996 Hollywood bank heist shooting, one of the guys there was using a Norinco AK-47 that was converted, I think, to full auto. But apparently there was also something too about Norinco apparently shipping a bunch of guns illegally into the US to try to give them to like mafiosos, a bunch of like full auto AKs. And you know how the government is whenever we try to get anything fun into the country, they kind of just crack that whip. So since we're talking about American firearms and stuff like that, we figured why not compare Ye Old Faithful to not the new kid on the block. You know, he's been around several times. He's quite ragged. He's been, I mean, this one's brand new, but if anyone knows anything about the M9s, you'll know that your average pogue was using them as basically a hammer to nail in stakes to put their tents up. But if you don't do that and you actually treat your gun with a little bit of respect, these things run really nice. Now, of course, several differences between these two: 45, 9mm, single action only, single double action only, Chinese, Italian. So effectively, whenever you're choosing between these two guns right here, at least in this specific circumstance, you kind of have to think about, are you in the mood for Panda Express or are you in the mood for Olive Garden? So we have some watermelons. Now, are these regular watermelons? Yes, they are. Do they explode just the same?
Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah. So, but we're not just going to shoot the watermelons with a 45. We're going to do a little comparison. The M9 that I was talking about earlier, we're going to go ahead and use this too. So we're going to try out the 9mm against one melon, and then we'll do the 45 against the other melon. Austin, what do you think the results are going to be?
I think the 45 is going to blow it apart.
You think so?
I think the 9mm will leave a decent
So here's what
hole.
I think is going to happen. I think the 9mm is going to blow one of the watermelons just fine. But I think what happens is that whenever I get this loaded up, aimed, and I fire, I think God's going to come right down from the heavens. And just like, you're just going to see a giant finger come through the trees. And then it's just going to pick up the watermelon and just like pinch it and squish it. And then it's going to be like a loud boom. And then I will not forget to go to church this coming Sunday. So, first off, 9mm. Fascinating. We just fired the 9mm at our watermelon. You can see we got a pretty solid hole in the front, but let's see where it is on the back. Austin, if you just want to pick up the tripod, just pick up the whole thing, kind of bring it over here. I want to flip this over and kind of see what it looks like. Put that there. So there's our entrance wound right there. And there's our exit wound. And you can see a clear hole. Can you see through that?
Yeah.
So a nice path, you know. It definitely left its mark on there, but let's see what the 45 can do. I just realized that we're using a smaller watermelon for the bigger round. It's called staging. Second watermelon, bigger gun. See what she does. I hit it, right? Yeah. Much to my shock, there's our 45 entrance wound. You can see it's actually smaller than the 9mm, and it didn't crack it nearly as much. Now,
we gotta
the real
flip it
story.
over still.
What's up?
We got to flip it over still.
I was just about to say, let's go ahead and let's see how that back's looking. Not as impressive either, because there's nothing on the back end of this that's worth writing home about. Pretty interesting, actually. So we'll pop it a couple of more times just to see what maybe more than 145 does to your watermelon. It smells great. I gotta say, with rising inflation prices, nothing makes more sense than taking perfectly edible fruit and just destroying it. It's the American way, you know what I mean? It's all about knowing what you have and saying, fuck it, I want more. Honestly, you could just mag dump on this thing.
For sure.
Like, just, you want me to top you off, actually?
Sure.
All right. All right, so we have Austin back on camera. We'll see how long that lasts, but he's got the 1911, and we got the watermelon over there. So what do we do whenever we're trying to destroy something with a gun?
Mag dump.
Mag dump into
The watermelon.
hell yeah, brother.
Sweet.
All right, see how that looks? So we can see here, plenty of entrances. And, oh my God, look at that. God, it's like carnage in there.
Should we do the same with the 9mm and see what happens?
Fuck it. Yeah, let's do that.
Fuck it, we ball.
Hell yeah. All right, so I think it's fair to say that by this point that Captain Price would be very, very disappointed in our fruit killing skills, but let's see if we can make this up. So we have Austin here back with the M9. We got our 9mm watermelon up there with that one hole. Let's see how many holes it takes to survive. Are you ready?
Ready, let's do it.
All right.
I'm quite shocked. I thought this would be the effect that the 1911 would have, but it was the other way around. The 9mm destroyed it.
Whereas the 45 just kind of like grazed on through it. That one said, fuck you on the way out.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had something that just occur on here where a target of ours tried to escape. Now, that's a no-no. Now, as you can see, our 45 over here, our 45 watermelon, it tried to run away. Now, obviously, it couldn't get far because it's in pretty bad shape. But the last thing that you want when you know you're in a dire situation, trust me, is actually the hope that you can get out of it, because the hope is going to make you hold on a lot longer than you really should. So we're going to teach this guy a lesson in hope. Keep your friends close and your melons closer. And actually, keep filming, because check this out. So this is something that's really specific to this gun. Now, let's see if I can keep that in there. Okay, so here's what happens sometimes with this gun, and this is a Kimber 1911 mag. So I've gotten all kinds of magazines from Kimber, from CMMG, from Wilson Combat, and all of them do this thing where it's kind of... So I have the shell casing right here. What happens is that I will be shooting the gun, and then on the last round, the shell casing actually gets wedged between the feed lips of the magazine. And it came out this time pretty easily, but there's been times where I've had to like get pliers and kind of yank that shell casing out of there because it just locks the gun up. So yeah, I noticed I started doing this a little bit after I got it. So about a year after I got it. This is like 2020. So everyone and their like distant third grandma was buying a gun. I realized I needed something better, so I went out and bought a Glock 19 like a normal human being. POV, you're a couple of hapless Czechoslovakian conscripts trying to surrender some friendly Americans on June 6, 1944. What did he say? What did he say?
Look, I washed for supper.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that's going to be all I got for you today. This was the Norinco 1911. If you have any questions, comments about it, just anything in general, go ahead and feel free to throw those in the comment section below. Just like Grantham says, I can't really control what you guys do down there, and I have no history of comments yet, so it could either be really sunshine and rainbows, or it can be war crimes and anything else. That's up to you to decide, and I know that you'll make the worst decision. So, with all that being said, my name is Caden. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. All right, so now we're going to see how this 1911 does in a modern tactical sense. And by modern, I mean we're doing drills that are like, you know, probably 30, 40 years old, but technology is like that in the gun world. Anyway, we're going to try a Mozambique. You know, as you can see, our target here is, it's quite short. So we're going to play a scenario. Hypothetically speaking, we have a very angry midget here who wants my money, because that's probably the only thing that can make him happy at this point. So I don't have a holster for the 1911, so I'm just going to pretend that I'm already holding my gun, and this guy just really has a death wish. So we'll see how it does. Hey, watch out! As you can see, though the 1911 and specifically the 45 might have been a bit disappointing on the watermelon, as you can see, whenever it's applied to God's undesirables, it does a phenomenal job.